You're interested in comic book conservation, please join us on Facebook at the Comic Book Conservation Community, where we have a gathering of experts in the industry, and you can ask all of your questions that you need to know about what you need to do to conserve and preserve these beautiful works of art. Please join Dr. Paul from Liberty Hill Comics, Phantom Phil from Phantom Restorations, and myself, Captain Larry from Flying Owl Comics, every Sunday night on YouTube. At 8:35 p.m. Eastern, we talk about everything comic conservation and what's happening in the market. So please come join us. You can find us at Liberty Hill Comics on YouTube and Flying L Comics on YouTube. Hey, everybody. I've got an interesting one here today. This is Exciting Comics featuring the Black Terror. This is from July of 1946. This is number 49. It's an interesting book here. And all in all, it looks pretty good. You can see clearly it's the spine needs to be corrected. So looking at this, this is actually what's known as a Siamese wrap in a book. So I'm going to take and open this up a little bit. Everything looks nice. It's very, um, yeah, the colors look good. It's a little bit faded. But what I wanted to show you here was occasionally when these books got printed, the wraps would still be married together. And I'll demonstrate this right here. So I'm going to take this page here. And what you'll notice when I put these things together is guess what? They fit perfectly, just like a puzzle piece. So instead of being cut properly, these pages were bonded together like this. And I think the original owner basically ran his finger down and separated the pages. So what we're going to do here today, because we'd like to keep a universal grade, and you're probably wondering how we're going to do this. So we're going to clean the book like we normally do. And you'll notice a lot of this is torn, it's folded over, it's extended past its normal cut line. So we're going to clean this book, and then we're going to flatten all of these pieces out to where they should normally be, and we're going to fold them into the cut line. So you can clearly see there's a straight line here. And once we get that done, we'll fold it internally. So when it goes into the slab, it will still be it'll able to fit number one. Because CGC, when it sticks out this route, they can't fit it in the slab. You know, these Golden Age books are much larger than the regular books. So I think what we got is an interesting project. We'll de-acidify everything. Yeah, I'm just looking at these pages. So you see like this little flap right here. You know, clearly it's extends way beyond where it should be. So we'll disassemble the book. We're going to separate all reps, de-acidify them, and then we're going to press them flat. Then we'll reassemble the book, fold these to where they need to be, and then hard press everything down so it'll fit into a CGC case. And then we'll see what CGC says. It should be in a universal grade by everything that I can see. So let's continue looking at this book. And clearly, we have a huge margin here. This is, well, let's compare it. If I line this up with the cover, this is all the way out here at the most, is 3/4 of an inch. We have some dust lines, which we'll clean up. Turn this back over, and we'll put a proper spine. We'll re-roll this book the way it should be correctly. All right, interesting project. Okay, so we're at that stage where we want to take out our staples. So, taking a closer look at this book, right here in the lower left corner, we'll use our little reach camera here to take a closer peek. We've got a couple of corners that are folded over here. Now we'll go ahead and once the wrap, we're going to de-acidify everything here on this book. So we'll get these corners folded over so they look nice and proper. Looking at the spine of the book, it looks great. I mean, there's no real breaks in the spine, stress-wise. The colors are great. The staples are straight. The book looks really good from first view, other than the Siamese wraps hanging out over the side. Now we have our blue tape set up with top and bottom labeled, and we're going to go ahead and remove the staples. Now, in my other videos, as in this video, I'm going to show you how I remove staples. You can come up with your own way, but I prefer to do it this way as it is less prone to tearing these ancient wraps, and they really are old wraps. The first thing we're going to do is get our spatula underneath the staple. Now, we try to use a non-marring surface. The spatula is Teflon coated. I also recommend highly the Capable Staple tool from Immaculate Comics. Go over to immaculatecomics.com. Rick Morgan has some really, really great tools for doing this sort of work. So we're going to get out here and we're going to just bend these staples up just enough. We're not going to bend them vertically. We're going to bend them up about 70 or 80 degrees. And I'll show you why here in just one second. So the main objective here is don't tear the paper. Now, if you force these things, the legs of the staple vertically, you are going to tear the paper both vertically and possibly horizontally. So we don't want that. We want to keep everything that we do here to a minimum of damage. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my hand underneath to support the spine, and I'm going to gently push one leg through the book and catch that staple with my hand on the underside. And then instead of pulling the other one out, we're just going to rotate that staple back up through the hole. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it about 90 degrees to the book, perpendicular, and slide it out. Now, you notice there's no damage to the staple holes, and you can see the angles of the legs of the staple. And we're going to reinsert it in the same manner. This again causes the damage to be minimal. You notice the back side of this staple is perfectly straight. If I were to fold out these legs, those corners in the staple, they would expand out and push upwards, and that would totally deform the staple. Now we'll take our bottom staple here and we'll put it right underneath the B, and we keep the correct orientation for when we reinsert. So I want to see if it's got a little bit of an edge. I don't want to tear paper again, like I said. Let's see if I can catch it with my fingernail. Just lift it a little bit so I can slide this under. Okay, so we're going to lift this up. Okay, this one's a little bit, we don't want to mar the staple. So that's why we use something that's, non-mar. We don't want to use any sharp instruments or objects because that will actually scratch the staple. And remember, these are the original staples. They were put in, almost 80 years ago. Okay, so here we are. Same operation. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to put my hand on the back side and support the staple. So we're going to slide this out and we're going to rotate it from the outside like that. And we can turn it to a 90-degree angle here and we'll just rotate it out like that. And there you have it. So again, we'll take this over here. We'll go ahead and this time put it underneath the T. Right there. And that's it. So now we don't like having sticky stuff around our work area. So now what we're going to do is This is the board that we're going to use to keep all the wraps safe. So on the back side of the board, I'm going to go ahead and pick up our staples. As you can see, they're right there. And we just put it squarely here. And when it comes time to reassemble the book, we know exactly where to find our staples, always on the back side. All right, so now that said, everything's been removed. So let's take a look at this cover wrap. Okay, now this is a nice looking wrap. There's no tear holes where the staples were, which is exactly what we were after. It's got a little bit of tanning. Now, are we going to wash this? Yes, a little bit, but very minimal surfactant. And then we're going to dry clean this. See if we can get this dust line off. But the cover and everything looks fantastic. I mean, it's squared up, looks wonderful. So let's set this aside for now. And we'll take a look at these wraps. Now, as you can see, this is already folded over to this side. It's not where it was originally planned to be. So I'm going to go ahead and unfold all of these. And what we're going to do is flatten all these out. We're going to wash them in calcium hydroxide like we normally do. But each one of these wraps has a mate. Because when they print these things, they print them in great big squares, like newspaper-sized squares off a big roller, and then they cut them. It does have a few tears right here, but again, we want to stick with the universal, so we'll leave those tears there. That is our ultimate goal. But as you can see, there's some fairly sizable chunks out of here. And here's some of the opposing mates. Now we've got to be very careful. There is a fold line right here. You can sort of see where it should have been cut. And we just find this plain. Now, I've put together books before. If you want to see, look in my library, you'll see a Men's Adventures 26. Now that one I actually put the Siamese pages back together, then recut them. Now what that did, it came out beautiful, however, it came back conserved. So we're going to try something a little bit different. I did consult with CGC on this, on course of action. And this is what they recommended. So go ahead and clean everything, make everything flat, and then we'll fold these excess edges to the spots where they should be. See, this is very much folded over. You can see right here, big fold over there. But yeah, this is very nice. Love the colors of this book. Okay, and here's a very large section that's missing. But it does not affect the story. So there's no dialogue in here. Now, at CGC, you are allowed to have 4 square inches, 2 by 2, but it doesn't count the margin. So it's just counting the piece in here. But again, it does not affect the story. Okay, and now we've reached the center wrap. And that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get our cleaning process going. Okay, so we're going to start rinsing our first wrap. And what we're going to do is we've got our rinsing tray. We have a piece of Hollytex, which I'm going to lay down in here. We'll take our first wrap off, like this. And we're going to put it face down, so we have the fold up towards us. Now on top of this, I'm going to place another piece of Hollytex. And then we'll bring in our calcium hydroxide. Now, this calcium hydroxide, it is a 25% calcium hydroxide. The other 75% is water. And you notice some suds in there because I put a surfactant in. And a surfactant is just a form of soap, and we use a nice clean soap. We don't use your standard run-of-the-mill dishwashing soap because that has dyes and fragrances and other things. This is just more of a chemically stable soap, and you can find this at Amazon. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get our wrap wet. So we'll pour this on. This is 320 milliliters. And I'm going to smooth this out. And we want this wrap to take up all of this calcium hydroxide. Now, the Hollytex is a non-woven fiber material. And the best part about it is nothing sticks to it, really. And you have to actually try pretty hard. So this is looking nice. The page is taking this all up. And what we're going to do here, because I wanted the soap in there, the surfactant, so to speak, is if there's any dirt or anything in the embedded in the paper, it will loosen it and lift it. And we'll see it here in a few minutes. Hopefully it's fairly clean. And I'm just going to agitate this a little bit right now. And I don't see anything coming off. The one thing we want to look for is if there's any ink coming off the page. If you see any ink coming off your page, that means that the sizing is pretty much gone from the paper, and that's basically what they mix into paper to help the ink stay in the paper. And so we limit our baths to usually 3 to 5 minutes. And I'm just going to roll this around. I see a little bit of color change down here in that upper left corner. You see where that is? So what we're doing is the calcium hydroxide de-acidifies this paper, or I should say neutralizes for our chemists out there. Now, paper of this age, the lignins and the materials used to make this pulp, over time they get very acidic. And if I were to take and test this wrap, it would probably be about a pH level of between 4 and 5. What we want to do is neutralize that acid, otherwise it will continue to deteriorate the paper, and ultimately it will fall apart inside the slab. So by using calcium hydroxide, it neutralizes it. It leaves an alkaline reserve in the paper, which is exactly what we're looking for. That will raise the pH level to neutral as water. You're talking about right around 7, but this pH level will now be around 8. So no more acid. It won't deteriorate. These are how documents are preserved in your Declaration of Independence. It's 200 years old. How come it didn't fall apart? Well, it was de-acidified. So let's continue. We're going to roll this around. And this is looking really nice. There's really not a lot of that yellow residue coming out. So I'm quite pleased with this. So I'm going to tip this in the corner, and you can see right there, it's just got a slight tinge of yellow. So that is some of the filth and really some of the acid particles coming off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and empty this out off camera, and we'll come back to it and take a look. Okay, now we've poured off our cleaning solution, and as with anything that contains soap, we want to rinse it. So what I've got here is a nice fresh batch of calcium hydroxide. Again, the same 25% solution. We'll pour it on here. Let that soak in a bit. And this will get the soap part out of it. Now, I wanted to show you exactly what we're talking about, this color. It's kind of hard to see. Let me put this white card underneath. So you can see this yellow. Let me bring the camera down here a little bit. And we'll give it a little turn like this. And as you can see, it's got that nice yellow tint to it. That's what came off this book, or off this one wrap. So it was fairly significant. I've seen worse, but that's what we got for today. All right, so let's go back to our, there we go. We'll go ahead and agitate this again. We want to get all that soap, basically toned down a bit. This is again calcium hydroxide. Okay, so I'll get this all squared away. Okay, so what we're going to do, and the reason I use the two pieces of Polytex is occasionally you want to flip a page over and just double check there's nothing unusual. Now you notice everything's nice and flat. Any wrinkles that were in this page are now gone. And it looks great. So we're going to do this to each and every wrap. And what I'm going to do is put this into the drying process. And once it's dry, I'm going to bring it back and we're going to take a look at it. If you liked today's video, please remember, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and gets more views out there. And it really helps me to get some of these projects out to you and show you how things are done. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.